Well, welcome everybody to today's installment of my Six-Figure Pro series of job search webinars. And today's topic is creating a successful job search blueprint. Should I say six-figure job search blueprint? So what does that mean? Well, it's an outline of the strategy that I teach my executive job search coaching clients in order to find them six-figure positions. It usually occurs in weeks and not months. So this is the three-pronged approach to finding the hidden job market, and that's the cornerstone to the success of my clients. And so I want to share that approach with you today. But first I'd like to introduce Lewis Lowry. If Lewis, you're on the call.
Hey, Tammy, I'm here. How are you?
Awesome. How are you?
I'm full of energy, and I'm ready to get going on this call. It sounds like you've got some great stuff to share with everybody today.
Yeah. And by way of introduction, Lewis was a client of mine, and he's now successfully employed, and he's very much making a name for himself in the Kansas City community. And Lewis has graciously volunteered to help me host this call so that it doesn't sound like I'm lecturing you all for a full hour. And hey, Lewis, it's Tammy. I got dropped.
I figured that.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm ready to go, though. I think that it looks like all of our callers remained on, and there's still people joining us. So hopefully it wasn't too disruptive. Just a reminder, if you're done speaking, Lewis, you probably have finished what you wanted to say.
Well, actually, no, I haven't, Tammy.
Okay.
I was
Sorry.
telling everybody that you've disappeared, and so now you're back on the scene. So, kind of that bewitched thing going on there.
I know.
But let me go ahead and tell folks a little bit about you, and so that those that don't know you will know a little bit more of you. Tammy is a job search strategist, resume writer, and she's also the owner of Career Resume Consulting. Tammy has spent 8 years as an expert in the career field and 18 years as a hiring manager. So this really, really qualifies her as knowing her stuff. Tammy has been featured as an expert multiple times in the Wall Street Journal, MSNBC.com, Monster, Career Builder, Ladders, the Kansas City Star, and dozens of others online and certainly paper publications. She is also the author of the Job Search Accelerator Blueprint and also Resume Reboot. So, certainly, again, our folks today are in great hands because Tammy is certainly well-versed in this stuff. So, Tammy, we're going to turn it back over to you so you can give us an hour worth of some good stuff here.
Thank you. And actually, when you mentioned the Job Search Accelerator Blueprint, I'll be going over today the basics of the blueprint, but also giving you some techniques that you can start to use today to really make a change in your job search. Just a quick reminder, everyone that's on the phone call is on mute, so we can't hear you until I open up the lines toward the end of the call. You can raise your hand by pressing star two. And then if you're on the webinar, it looks like we've got a lot of people listening in online. You can type in your question in the lower left-hand corner of the webinar page. So if you have any questions, feel free to type them in throughout the hour, and then we'll probably have about 10 minutes or so toward the end of the call to answer your questions. So thank you, Lewis, for that introduction. And
you're welcome.
You're welcome. Thank you. I want to go into more detail about my background because I've been doing these webinars, these training calls, since April of this year. And I think I may have mentioned my unemployment situation in the past in passing, but I want to share with you today something that a lot of clients don't even know about me. Before I learned career marketing, I was actually unemployed for nearly a year, and I know, Lewis, you know this. This was back in 2003. And, I know what it's like not to be able to make a house payment and to have very few presents under that Christmas tree last year. And when I was laid off from one of Kansas City's biggest employers, I was completely lost how to find a job. I had no idea what I was doing, and honestly, it was one of the darkest times of my life. I was a big shop corporate leader, and then I was reduced to spending hours a day on the Internet with absolutely no results to show for it. And I knew at that point that I was losing hundreds of dollars a day, every day when I was unemployed, and I felt very, very desperate. And I think that this is one of the reasons that I connect so well with my clients that have been unemployed for over a year, and a lot of them have. So after almost a year of searching, I was lucky enough to get picked up by an executive career firm as a marketing director. And this experience completely opened my eyes. And it very quickly made me realize that everything I thought I knew about looking for a job was completely ineffective and wrong. So I'm telling you this for a few reasons. First, I want to make sure that you know that I know what it's like to be frustrated and not know the first thing about finding a six-figure position. So I know what doesn't work. And before I worked for the executive career firm, I didn't know what did work. But more importantly, I want you to know that if you're in the same life circumstance, or if you're afraid that you're heading towards that, you need to stop what you're doing right now and do something completely different. And that's worth repeating. If you're not headed in the right direction, you need to stop what you're doing right now and do something completely different.
Well, Tammy, that kind of sounds like it falls in line with Albert Einstein's definition of insanity, which is the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Another quote that he's famous for is also that we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. So those are some important things for people to be mindful of.
Boy, I like that quote. I think I like that even better. The job market has changed more in the last 5 years than in the previous 50 years before that, and I think that everybody on the call and listening knows that. I know that my advice has morphed significantly since I started my own client practice in 2008, but the principles of personal marketing have really been consistent. So the reason that I went through that is because the techniques and the strategies in this job search blueprint that I'm going to share with you today are the ones that have been proven effective for my clients over the last 8 years. And as I've honed these strategies in my own business, what I'm finding is my clients are getting paid high-paying positions in an amazingly short period of time. Now, I'm going to share with you something that might sound like a sales pitch, but it's not. Actually, the majority of my clients are starting new positions in 10 weeks or less. And you compare that to the 10 and a half months that it's taking people on average in America to find a position, and that's including Walmart greeters and McDonald's employees. It's skewed toward people that can find a job a little bit easier than those of us who make six figures. But for those people 55 years and older, it's taking an average of 13 and a half months, and that's over a year. 13 and a half months, and that's from the Bureau of Labor Statistics for July. And you can look it up on BLS.gov. You can look. There's a lot of information that's on the Bureau of Labor Statistics. They come out the first Friday of every month. And most of my clients are over 50. So when you think about the 10 months that I save my average client of unemployment or underemployment, if they're just making $100,000 at that level, that's an additional $83,000 for that 10 months that he or she has just earned. And add to that the average of an 11% increase that they've been getting when they do some negotiating, and you multiply that puppy by the number of years that they have left in their career, and I've now become their best friend. So that's why so much of my clientele comes from referrals of past clients. Now, I told you before by telling you this, I'm not trying to sell you on my services. I'm actually extremely busy, but I'm telling you this because I want you to know that you can put the action plan that I'm going to give you into action that I'm suggesting this hour. It's not as easy as perusing the job boards, but it is much, much more effective. So that's another thing that's worth mentioning twice. It's not an easy task, what I'm going to put forward for you today, but it is much more effective than what you're doing right now. So this call is literally designed to get you started in a new direction, and hopefully one that can shave a lot of months off of your search for a new career. So I'm going to introduce to you my three-pronged approach for looking for a job that I teach my clients. And I can't go into the amount of detail that I do with my coaching clients or personalize it to your situation very much because I'm talking to a group here, but I want to share with you the basics of each of these three approaches.
Well, Tammy, and I trust that those that are on the call and certainly those that are listening on the web, if they haven't pulled over off the side of the road or however they're listening, are dying to know what these approaches are. So I hope that they have pen and paper in hand. But tell us what they're about, and give us that information that I know is going to really help folks moving forward.
Okay. I think what I've decided to do is tell the three of them up front so that everyone can take notes, and then I'll get into details with each one. So get a pencil or a pen and a pad of paper, write these down. Number one, you need to target the companies that you would want to work for and proactively contact those companies via hard copy or U.S. mail, and specifically the right people in those companies. And I'm going to talk about how to target those companies. We're going to get into detail about that. So again, it's targeting companies that you would want to work for and proactively contacting those companies, and specifically the right people in those companies. Number two is finding companies that are growing in your area. A lot of people here from Kansas City, but I can also see on the phone call we've got a great number down in Texas, one in Minnesota, and several out on the West Coast. So look in your area, and I'll show you how to do that no matter what area you're in. So finding companies that are growing in your area, that are creating jobs and not just filling because of attrition or when people leave, and proactively contacting those companies. And I'll show you how to find those today. And then third, networking effectively with your own network and also expanding your network so that a larger amount of people know who you are and what you're looking for. That's number three.
Well, Tammy, you said that these things, certainly weren't easy, but yet the three things that you pointed out seem pretty straightforward to me. So am I missing something?
Well, I don't expect you to be able to act on these three with just the information I just provided. I think that you need some additional structure. So what I'd like to do in this call, we've got 45 minutes left. I want to dissect each of these, and I'm going to approach each of these things in a different manner than anyone else in the job market is doing. I mean, that's really my secret sauce. But it's moving forward with all of these three things, these techniques in tandem. That's what gets my clients the amazing results that I'm seeing. So these strategies are designed to get you in front of hiring managers in target companies, and that's whether or not you know they're hiring. That's an important piece of it. And when you do that and you effectively get their attention through the Rockstar resume that we talked about last week, and if you need a link to that, go ahead and email me at tammy@beyondjobsearching.com, Tammy, and I will send the link to that if you don't have that. So get yourself a Rockstar resume, and then that document has compelled them to give you a call. If you send it to them proactively after you've defined what your strengths are and you write something that is compelling enough for them to respond to you, you get a better response rate than applying for publicly posted positions on the job boards or on the company websites. That's really important. Whether or not you know that the company is hiring, you get a better response than if you post or if you apply for posted positions. So I want to share some statistics to support my